has cortado.
Trae un tercio.
¿Un tercio?
Sí. ¿No es Miguel si tienes?
No, género o águila de barril.
Pues águila de barril.
¿Águila de barril? ¿No hace con compañero?
This architecture is too much like capitalism. It's simple, big, stupid, like capitalist buildings. So I can't say I like it. It's the beginning of the bourgeois. But the gargoyle is very important. I think it's a joke against the people who own the building. That's what he says. Well, actually, everybody's from the 60s. Gloria and this woman from Colombia. We both are fascinated by astrology because it was very important in the 60s. But the reason I like it is because I read Levi-Strauss when I was 14, and it's very much like anthropology. You have to exchange with the right tribe. It's also something that people say they don't believe, but they do believe. So it's a cliche that you actually believe.
Bueno, duró media hora porque era insoportable. No.
Yes, I did a computer astrology dating service once. But actually, when I teach students and I see the work, I can know immediately what their sign is by their work. Well, there's Amalia Antilli, who's Swiss, who represented Switzerland in the Venice Biennale. When I first saw her work, it was always about telephones ringing, and then see, in the Rijksacademy you have a very small little studio, which is horrible, with a door, and there's just a little bit of air under the door. So her work was putting grass through the door, which was obviously a sexual metaphor, and the phone. So I said, you must be a Gemini, because Geminis always have these little sexual jokes. But also the phone, they're always obsessed by the phone. So I find in teaching, it's pretty interesting. But I think it's about a class structure. See, it's about upper-lower class trying to be middle class. And of course, T.J. Clark, who I just showed you, wrote about the big conflict in France in the 19th century, the petit bourgeois. So normally intellectuals hate the petit bourgeois, but in fact they're the main class, petit bourgeois. They're the people who are working class who are trying to become middle class. And I think all of culture is based on that class, pretty much. Mm-hmm. The elite intellectuals who say they're for the working class, that's all bullshit. I grew up in a rather poor community. My parents were upper middle class, but I think that class is very vital. And of course, there's a good deal of tastelessness, of banality. But on the other hand, there's an enormous poetry to people. Flaubert was very involved with that, with petit bourgeois aspirations.
Let me see.
Interview. You have naked women there.
But I want to talk about early video. I was influenced by Radical Software, which featured Juan Downing, Paul Ryan, who was very involved with furniture that was furniture that was topological, and the idea of the feedback loop as a learning process was very important. Because in the 60s we loved cybernetics.
You were?
We loved cybernetics. Cybernetics was about feedback.
Ah.
And of course we were into topology. like a Mobius strip. So all the early videos had to do with feeding back onto yourself what you've seen and feeding back to other people, and it was about community. And of course, anthropology was very important, certainly for Juan Downing. But the idea was with the Portapack you could do that. I discovered video through Bruce Nauman, partly through Bruce Nauman and Nam June Paik. Bruce Nauman was doing time delays in video, which he actually got from Steve Reich, who used time delay for phasing in his music, and he got it from Terry Riley. But what Bruce Nauman did was he rented inexpensive video from a shop, and then he would have 3 different storefronts in Los Angeles, and he would have a time delay from one store to another store. And it always had to do with the body in relationship to time. And I think everything was time-based in the 60s. First of all, drugs were very important, so we wanted this extended present time. We also wanted feedback to ourselves because we were interested in the idea of learning through meditation and through exercise, which Nauman was very involved with. And I had no money. I loved Nauman's work. I didn't have any equipment or money, so there was a course in Nova Scotia College of Art called, what was it called? It was about conceptual artists making instructions for work to be realized. So I made instructions for work, and I said only I could help realize them. They were with film, video. They had equipment there. I also did a lot of things on local television. See, when cable television was new to an area, they had to have public access channels. So I had the students work on public access. I also had a computer astrology dating service, which I advertised in a local newspaper, and I was on local television news to present it.
Do you like the window shot?
But what I want, I'll tell you an early piece I did, which was not documented. It was called Two Consciousness Projections. This was a kind of a learning situation. There's a TV monitor, and on top of the monitor is a camera. A woman sits down. The camera is aimed at her. There's a man standing behind the camera, and the man is supposed to describe the woman, and the woman describes herself. The audience can hear both of them. In the beginning, everybody believes in the man because he's the man, but later, as it continues, you start identifying with the woman because she's closer to herself in reality. So it's about the old idea from it was an early feminist piece about how the man tries to control, like the psychiatrist, the woman's consciousness, but in the end she takes control. And also it's about a Freudian cliche that we're always projecting onto each other, so the audience can see the monitor view of the woman who's looking at herself. She can and the man seems to be objective. And in fact, they identify with the woman. But I take the women and the man from the audience. I mean, from the students. And sometimes they change place. The man sits down, the woman stands up. And I also did it nude, with the people naked. It's all about a learning process, but it's also about a psychological model that you can actually see. Because we always believe that we project onto each other. But here the audience can see the actual woman, and they can hear the man and the woman describing on top of each other.
This is where older people feel familiar.
Yeah.
The older people feel they remember the past. And the little children are difficult. They're getting lost, the little children. They're getting lost.
Another piece like this, which was a video, was it's called Past Future Split Attention. I can only do this as a video. It's two people who know each other fairly well. This is documented with a video camera, and these two people, one person has to always predict the future of the other person, and that person is always talking about the past. It could be the split second just past, but of course, if somebody says something nasty about the other person in the past, then that person will predict a bad future for the other person. And of course, on video, you can actually see them move. The person will say, in the near future, you'll sit down. You won't like what I'm saying, so you'll be very nervous. And the other person says, I remember when you had a date with this female student without telling your wife. You wound up smelling like garlic, and she understood that you were somebody else. This can be a video because video you have sound and visual together. And of course, I could never do this live because audience would be distracting. So this was a videotape.
Maybe you can buy postcards. Yeah, you can buy postcards with a.
Same ones, the same postcards.
This could be worse than the other.
Westkunst video was made. Actually, there was a show called Westkunst, was Kasper Koenig, and what's the guy's name again? Laszlo Glossa did, I think in '76 in Cologne. And the idea was it was the end of American influence in Europe, called Westkunst. And it had every decade was represented. I was in the modern decade, which was then I think it was then the '70s, and they asked artists to do short programs for television, for Cologne television, Westfälische Cologne. It was also be done live. Kasper said he wanted something to do with Homes for America because it was popular. So I oriented around the beginning of the corporate atrium in City Core. Which was a kind of suburban Arcadia inside the city, and then I went to the outside of the city, to the suburbs, gradually. There was a video project that I thought was good, but wasn't very good, about when people sell houses, they have videotape at the house, so you don't have to actually go there. So I put that in the atrium. I thought it was a terrible. At the time, I liked the piece, but now I think I'm embarrassed about it. But that's how it begins. But of course, what I like about video is that, as I said in video television architecture, that it's part of the normal architecture. The time delay contradicts the Renaissance window and mirror. Also, you have a time displacement. You can displace times because you can see pictures from video from the moon in your living room. And time delay is actually kind of a brain time with feedback. Is very important. So in many ways, I try to contrast old Renaissance architecture ideas with modern video. But I think television is very important. Architecture and television are more important than video art. They're the basis for, and of course, I think Nam June Paik was very clear that video is part of the home furniture as an object and also a reality. I've also been incredibly influenced by American television, Candid Camera, Queen for a Day, all these great concepts. And I wrote that one of my first articles was about the Dean Martin TV show, and Dean Martin entertainment as theater.
A mí me gustan las quiche. I like quiche.
This is very good.
Sí, sí, sí.
Maybe I have to buy this. I have to buy two of these.
There was a very simple piece called Yesterday Today, I first did it in a I first did it in a art an art school gallery, and near the gallery is a lounge for students. So I had a live image from the students where they play ping pong onto a video screen, and then I was tape recording everything in that space, and I played that back 24 hours later with a live image. So in fact, they're playing ping pong, and the pings and pongs almost coincided. They're telling the same story, which continues next day. So people can go into the lounge right at the present time, listen to what's happening present time, or go back and hear what happened yesterday. It's like a soap opera. But it's also very much like Watergate, because I actually documented in a gallery in New York. I was documenting a live video from the office, the director's office. And of course, the office is different from the gallery, because the gallery is public, whereas the office, they talk about price and also gossip, art world gossip. It's very elitist. And the idea was, and actually, it was John Gibson Gallery, so the video image was actually in the gallery space, but you could hear what was happening in the office 24 hours earlier. And when I came back from lunch, I saw the gallery director was erasing everything on the tape. But it's a very simple piece. The work is about a simple idea, like a model that it has currency at a particular time and then can be disposable, and it's not programmatic in any way. I'll tell you what I wanted to do in Nova Scotia College of Art, which you could only do at that time. There were open access, public access channels available. And what I did was for a local news program, which is live, on one of the cable stations, I showed the control room producing that show, and another channel I showed people inside their normal living room watching the show. So at your own home, you can see the local TV show, you can see how other people watch it, and you can see how it was produced. Again, this is only because with cable television at the time you had that possibility. In the end, I wasn't able to do it, and it's a little bit structuralist, so I find it a little dated. But on the other hand, it's the kind of thing you can do with primitive equipment and a brand new situation like television. I find I can't do anything because I have no money. I have no equipment. I have no money, and also video artists. This come down to just a few video artists who get an enormous amount of money. And they make big projections, and I don't trust the big projection. I did this design for showing video to show things that are in 1985 to show different video programs where people can lie down and look at them. I like the horizontality of video, and also the normal TV situation. And of course, I think video has a lot to do. Television has a lot to do with the family. In fact, I wrote an article about this program called An American Family. This was a program that was on public television, where they documented a typical family in Santa Barbara, and the family was having problems. The wife said that it would be good to do a TV program because it might solve the problems of the marriage. In fact, the marriage broke up during that time. It was edited and shown about 4 months later, and actually, the people in America really hated the program because it was showing a mirror to who they actually were. But then everybody became a superstar because the homosexual son who worked with Andy Warhol appeared on a big television program. Everybody wrote about the family, and in fact, as Warhol said, everybody was a star for about 10 minutes. I think television is the mirror of the family in some ways. So that's why I love Juan Downing's work, because I think my work is anthropological. It's certainly not sociological. And
Why you say that you are more anthropologic?
Because I'm interested in the family structure.
American.
No, I read when I was 13. I read Margaret Mead, and she talked about matriarchal society. I read Levi Strauss. I don't think it's American. I think it's just it's simply it's simply that all television is based around the family unit. And it's fairly similar in most countries. And actually, I did this piece called "Video Projection Outside of House." Model was in '78, and most houses in America have a large window to show the living room, to show what people are like inside. So in this piece, I took a video projector and it shows very large screen outside on the lawn what people are watching inside on television, because that's a symbol of family life. But of course, they could be watching educational television, or they could be watching cartoons. The kids want cartoons, or could be watching at night pornography, and everybody outside sees it. See, I think television is a symbol of the home, and the one person who really understood that was Nam June Paik, I think. I think it's just a matter of the right time, the right place. And of course, when I was working with video, I wasn't the only one. It was Nauman who turned me on. Nam June Paik was important, but some people for Radical Software, one of whom you've worked with, Juan Downing, but there were other ones, absolutely inspired me to get into it. And I think it was at a pioneer early moment, you can do amazing things. But then since I really don't want to specialize in video art, particularly. I don't want to be a video artist. I got out of it. It turned out when video stopped being analog and was digital, I couldn't afford it because I've never had any money. I've never had any equipment, and for the time delays you need analog video. So I can't make time delays. Also, everything in video now is sponsored by Sony and a spectacle. So what I do a lot in video is for big exhibitions. When I show architecture models and the pieces have been realized, I make a video of that piece. So I use it for documentation. I actually did a video when I was in Banff this summer, one summer ago. 25 years ago, I went to the West Edmonton shopping mall outside of Edmonton. And I documented it, and then I went again one summer ago, and I put it together in a video called "Death by Chocolate." I've done video catalogs. For instance, the video catalog of the Dia Foundation piece is a video. I did a video catalog for Generali Foundation, but it tends to be. I actually like the more simple narrative things. I can't stand spectacle. And the artists I get involved with, like early Tony Osler or Tessa Dean, are people who do small video, downscales. So I really believe video should be democratic and cheap. I really hate the work of Douglas Gordon, Pierre Huy. This kind of spectacle video, actually, I really dislike. It's also too expensive. And of course, it's all sponsored by Sony or the French government or somebody with a lot of money. So I don't like the politics of video art at the moment.